Imagine walking through a city where skyscrapers sparkle in the sun, their glass facades reflecting the lives of billionaires, while just a few blocks away, people live in tiny, makeshift homes without running water or electricity. These worlds exist side by side, and yet they might as well be galaxies apart. Welcome to the story of Billionaire Cities, where wealth and poverty collide in dramatic, sometimes shocking ways. How does this happen? Why do the richest and the poorest live in the same city, yet lead lives that could not feel more different? And what does it mean for the future of our cities, our societies, and our own understanding of fairness? Today, we're going to take you on a journey through some of the world's most striking urban contrasts, from luxury high-rises in New York and Dubai to sprawling informal settlements in Mumbai, Lagos, and Rio de Janeiro. We'll explore the forces that drive extreme inequality, uncover the stories of people living at both ends of the spectrum, and ask, can cities remain socially cohesive when wealth is so polarized? First, let's define what we mean by a billionaire city. These are urban centers where an astonishing concentration of wealth exists. Cities where the richest 1% control vast swaths of real estate, investments, and cultural influence. Places like New York, London, Hong Kong, and Dubai are home to thousands of millionaires and billionaires, many of whom live in luxury towers, penthouses, and private islands, or fly between private jets as easily as the rest of us take the subway. But this wealth does not exist in isolation. In almost every billionaire city, directly beside or within striking proximity to luxury, you will find informal settlements, shanty towns, and neighborhoods struggling with poverty. This is not just about money. It's about access. Access to quality schools, healthcare, green spaces, transportation, and safety. It is about opportunity, the invisible line between have and have not, that shapes lives from birth. And it's growing. In 2025, reports estimate that the richest 1% of urban residents control over 40% of the wealth in major global cities, while nearly half of city dwellers live on less than $5 a day. That means the inequality gap is not just widening, it's becoming physically visible in the urban landscape. So, what drives this extreme concentration of wealth? Several forces come together. One is globalization. Cities that attract international business, finance, and tech companies also attract deal. Luxury real estate becomes a magnet for investment. Another is urban planning and zoning laws that often favor hidden development over affordable housing. And then there's political influence, which allows the wealthiest to secure tax advantages, exclusive amenities, and sometimes even entire neighborhoods. Let's take a closer look at what it's like to walk between worlds in a billionaire city. Imagine this. You step out of a sleek climate-controlled lobby with concierge service and a gym on every floor, and within a 10-minute walk you find yourself in a narrow alley where children play soccer on dirt. Water comes from shared taps and electricity may be intermittent. It's a jarring contrast. And it isn't just about appearances. It affects people's daily lives. Studies show that people living in informal settlements often face chronic stress, limited access to healthcare, and fewer educational opportunities, all while observing the opulence just a few streets away. Psychologists call this relative deprivation the feeling of inequality magnified by proximity. The closer the extremes, the more visible the gap, the more profound the social consequences. Yet, life goes on in these communities. People develop remarkable resilience, creativity, and social networks. Informal economies thrive. Children play in improvised parks, and community organizations emerge to fill the gaps left by the state. In cities like Mumbai or Lagos, informal settlements are not just places of poverty. They are hives of economic activity and social innovation, often under-recognized by the wider world. On the other side of the divide, why do billionaires cluster in cities rather than suburbs or rural areas? Cities offer connectivity, opportunity, and status. They are centers for finance, culture, technology, and networking, where influence is measured not just in dollars, but in visibility and access. Real estate is a key factor. A penthouse in Manhattan or a villa in Dubai is not just a home. It is an investment. Luxury properties in prime locations often serve as safe havens for wealth, especially in times of economic uncertainty. In some cities, foreign investors snap up real estate, leaving locals priced out of neighborhoods they've lived in for generations. Taxes and incentives also play a role. Cities compete globally to attract wealth, sometimes offering tax breaks or residency perks to high-net-worth individuals. The result? A landscape that is physically and socially stratified, where skyscrapers and slums coexist but rarely intersect. Segment 4. Stories from the ground. Numbers and charts can tell part of the story, but the real impact is human. Take the story of Anna, who grew up in the favelas of Rio de Janeiro. She spends her days working multiple jobs, cleaning, delivering packages, tutoring children, just to make ends meet. From her rooftop, she can see luxury condos with pools and rooftop gardens. It's surreal, she says. You can almost touch the wealth, but it feels like a different planet. Then there's Michael, a tech entrepreneur living in a high-rise in Manhattan. He enjoys the city's finest restaurants, art galleries, and private gyms. Yet, even he recognizes the stock divide. I know there's this other city beneath us, but it's easy to ignore when you're busy living your life. These stories highlight the psychological and social dimensions of urban inequality. It's not just economics, it's perception, empathy, and the invisible lines that shape daily interaction. Extreme wealth concentration has consequences. Cities with high inequality often experience higher crime rates, political instability, and social tension. Public services may be underfunded in poorer neighborhoods, while the wealthy enjoy private alternatives. Public spaces may feel unsafe or inaccessible. Social cohesion erodes, as residents of different economic classes rarely interact meaningfully. Economists warn that inequality slows economic growth in the long term. When large segments of the population have limited access to education, healthcare, and jobs, cities lose out on human potential, innovation, and workforce productivity. Urban planners and policymakers are beginning to experiment with solutions: mixed-income housing, improved public transit, community centers, and tax policies aimed at redistributing wealth more fairly. But these efforts often meet resistance from powerful interests, or are too small to offset the larger trends. Some cities illustrate the divide more vividly than others. In Mumbai, luxury towers in South Mumbai sit alongside sprawling slums like Dharavi, home to over 1 million people. In Dubai, ultra-modern islands and towers rise above labor camps where migrant workers live in cramped quarters. In New York, Manhattan's billionaires enjoy private elevators and exclusive amenities, while the Bronx struggles with housing shortages and poverty. Each of these cities tells a similar story. Wealth and poverty exist side by side, often in physical proximity, but socially worlds apart. The challenge is finding ways to bridge that divide without simply displacing the poor or privileging the wealthy. Some cities are trying innovative approaches. Singapore, for example, uses public housing policies to mix income levels, intentionally aiming for social cohesion. Bogota, in Colombia, invests in public transportation and urban parks to connect marginalized neighborhoods to economic hubs. Even luxury developers are exploring mixed-income communities where affordable housing is integrated alongside high-end properties. Technology also plays a role. Apps and platforms are emerging to improve access to jobs, education, and services in poorer neighborhoods. Crowdfunding and microfinance initiatives help small businesses thrive in informal economies. But technology alone cannot solve the structural causes of inequality. Policy, planning, and social will are key. Or might wonder, why should I care if billionaires and slum dwellers live near each other? The truth is, inequality affects everyone. Cities are ecosystems. When one part suffers, it affects the whole. Economic instability, crime, public health crises, and social unrest often emerge from unequal systems. Conversely, cities that balance wealth and opportunity tend to be more innovative, resilient, and prosperous for all residents. Understanding urban inequality also helps us see our own choices and responsibilities. Where we live, where we invest, and how we engage with our communities shapes the trajectory of our cities. Small changes supporting inclusive development, fair housing policies, or social initiatives can ripple outward to create meaningful impact. What will cities look like in 2050? Will they be skyscraper forests inhabited only by the ultra-rich, while the poor live miles away, disconnected from opportunity? Or can we design cities that are both prosperous and equitable? Some trends suggest hope. Urban planners are increasingly prioritizing inclusive design, sustainable development, and social integration. Technology can provide access to education, healthcare, and financial services for marginalized populations, and awareness is growing. The story of inequality is no longer hidden. It's visible in every skyline, every street, every neighborhood. The question is, will we act on it, or simply marvel at the skyline while ignoring the shadows below?